From resolutions calling on the government of the Russian Federation to release United States citizens to 5 bills that were supposed to be voted on last week, here are the 10 pieces of legislation being voted on in the House of Representatives this week. A House resolution being voted on this week is the calling on the government of the Russian Federation to immediately release U.S. citizen Paul Whelan. The resolution obviously calls on the immediate release of Paul Whelan, who was arrested on charges of espionage while traveling to Russia for the wedding of a personal friend. The resolution calls on Russia to comply with international treaty obligations to provide Paul Whelan and all other political prisoners their constitutionally afforded due process rights, expresses thanks to Canada, Ireland, and the UK, and expresses sympathy to the family of Paul Whelan. Another House resolution being voted on this week is the calling for the immediate release of Evan Gershkovich, a U.S. citizen and journalist wrongfully detained by Russia. Evan Gershkovich was arrested and charged with espionage while reporting in Russia on behalf of the Wall Street Journal. The resolution urges the Russian Federation to respect the human rights of Evan Gershkovich and all journalists to freely and independently report on the news. The resolution condemns the Russian government and goes on to express support for all American citizens detained in Russia. The Special Envoy for the Abraham Accords Act aims to establish in the Department of State the position of Special Envoy for the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are agreements to normalize or improve relations between Israel and 4 members of the Arab League: the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. According to the Congressional Research Services, the bill shall serve as the primary advisor to the U.S. government for expanding and strengthening the Abraham Accords. The duties of the Special Envoy include 1. Encouraging countries without diplomatic relations with Israel to establish formal diplomatic, economic, security, and people-to-people ties. 2. Expanding and strengthening existing relationships between Israel and Muslim-majority countries. And 3. Coordinating efforts across the U.S. government and engaging diplomatically with foreign governments, non-governmental organizations, and other stakeholders to expand and strengthen the Abraham Accords. The bills that were supposed to be voted on last week, but were not because 11 Republicans joined Democrats to block the bills over their disdain for the debt ceiling agreement between Speaker McCarthy and President Biden, are the REINS Act of 2023, the Separation of Powers Restoration Act of 2023, the Gas Stove Protection and Freedom Act, and the Save Our Stoves Act. A breakdown of these bills can be found here or by clicking the link in the description. A joint resolution being voted on provides for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives relating to factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces. This joint resolution nullifies the rule issued by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives titled Factoring Criteria for Firearms with Attached Stabilizing Braces and published on January 31st, 2023. The rule establishes criteria for determining whether a firearm equipped with an attaching stabilizing brace that facilitates shoulder fire is a rifle subject to regulation under the National Firearms Act. The Block Grant Assistance Act of 2023 aims to amend the Disaster Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2023 to improve disaster relief funding for agricultural producers and for other purposes. According to the Congressional Research Services, this bill authorizes the Department of Agriculture to provide as block grants to states and territories certain funding available to assist agricultural producers with losses due to droughts, wildfires, hurricanes, floods, derechos, excessive heat, tornadoes, winter storms, freeze, smoke exposure, and excessive moisture occurring in calendar year 2022. The CADETS Act looks to modify the age requirement for the Student Incentive Payment Program of the state maritime academies. The Congressional Research Services states, this bill expands age requirements for the Student Incentive Payment Program, which provides financial support to cadets who attend one of 6 state maritime academies and commit to a post-graduation service obligation. Specifically, the bill expands the eligibility age to include any qualified student who will meet the age requirements for enlistment in the Navy Reserve at the time of their graduation. Current age requirements prohibit cadets older than 25 from participating in the program. The bills passed last week were the Encouraging Public Offerings Act and the Middle Market IPO Cost Act. The House of Representatives is scheduled to be in session next week. To make sure you don't miss out on bills being voted on, make sure you share this video, like it, and hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you for becoming better informed about your government.